Okay, welcome back to day 290. I'm out of food in the house. Fun fact, we haven't gone out. So I have frozen fruit that I didn't know I had. We had. Emphasis. And second. There we go. But it's still very frozen with ice chunks. Very, very frozen with ice chunks. So, yeah. I'm so irritated today because of allergies for so many days in a row that I want to lose it. I'm also really tired. I did not get much sleep at all. The rest of the hair is sticking, or is underneath the headphones, so it's sticking out in a weird way. Anyways, yes, COVID-19 is still a very, very big deal. Over a year after this video came out. Oh, wait, I'm trying to figure this out. There we go. Nope. Who cares? My arm will just hurt. Yeah, my hand got stuck like this, and every time I tried to make it straight, it would pop. And so I'm like, oh great, so it really hurt. Now it doesn't really, like, not really hurt. It kind of hurt. By really, I mean just kind of, because when I'm in a lot of pain, I'm like, yeah, it hurt. When it's like tiny little pain, I'm like, oh, it hurts so bad. Anyways, so it kind of hurt, but now it just kind of stiff hurts when I like lean on it like this. But yeah, so it was stuck like this for a while, and then I started getting movement. Now it just hurts when I go like this. So I don't know what's up with that, but my wrist's been hurting for 4 days now, and I'm like, my family usually, I don't know if that's a good idea. My family usually give things a week before we go to the doctor for them. I don't know if that's a good solution or not. Because I'm like, oh, well, it was stuck. And I thought it was going to stay stuck if it kept popping and I couldn't, like, when it was popped in like this, I couldn't move my wrist, like, anyway. It was just stuck like this, and I just couldn't move. So this way I can move my hand like this, but not when it was locked in. And it felt, ooh, like, your body goes, ooh, gross, no, don't do that. It was like that, ooh, gross, don't do that. So I'm like, oh, okay. So if it kept doing that, I'm like, okay, I'll hit up the doctor sooner. But if it's just my wrist hurts, and that's like a one-time fluke, sure, I'm just gonna let it go. But yeah, when I broke my tailbone, I was like in pain for a very long time, and then after a week, I'm like, ow, it still hurts. And my siblings like, if it still hurts after a week, you know? I'm like, no, it's already been a week. They're like, are you sure? And I'm like, yes. So I got talked out of it to not see a doctor for a month because they didn't think it was that big of a deal. I'm like, I'm in a lot of pain. Like, I can't sit up. Like, not on any, like, certain chairs. And for a while afterwards, too. So finally I went to the doctor after a month, it stopped hurting so bad. I just didn't go at all. And so then a couple months later, I went to my doctor. And this was back when I had my pediatrician, who got locked up. Maybe not locked up. He got sued for indecent relationships with children. Anyways, not the point. I went to him and I'm like, ow, it hurt really bad. I feel like I broke it. He's like, you feel like you broke it? I'm like, yes, it was very intense. I went out, my family came running, and I walked it off like it was no big deal. And it hurt for like a month after, and now, like, it was just sore after, like, if I sit on it for too long, blah, blah. I explained it. And he's like, yeah, that sounds like you broke it. And I was like, oh, okay. What do we do? And he goes, well, usually you go to a doctor when you break a bone and they check you out. And I'm like, oh, not my fault. Like, I was a teenager. Like, I was like a younger teenager. Like, I was a teenager. not quite old enough to get to a human doctor and like adult doctor. I'm still at a pediatrician, but I was like a teenager. So I'm just like, how was I supposed to know? Like, I'm sorry. I don't know, what was I? 14? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. So, it was, I don't know, the fact that, like, they talked me out of it. It's like, I should have just stuck with my guns and went. I should have, which is, I don't know. So with this thing, I'm like, should I call the nurses to ask them what I should do? And they're like, no, don't call for another 3 days if it's still in pain. And I'm just like, wait, why couldn't I freaking talk to them? Like, I should have just called. Anyways, I took my earring out on my other ear, but I took my earring out because I realized I didn't want it. I don't know. I'm debating because I think I would really like, you know, like a gauge, like the tiny little gauge look, like a little plug. I really like that look, but I would want it on this ear, I think. Maybe not. Maybe I'll just put it on this ear, tiny little plug, and then have my dangling earrings on this ear. That could work. That could work. But I wanted a forever earring in this ear, so I only take it out when I want to change it to a special occasion one, because I'm not going to put an earring in every time I run to pick up a prescription, run to get my allergy shots, run to do that, run to talk to a nurse, but my hand do this, why my hand do that? You know, I'm not going to put an earring in. I'm not going to run when I'm like put it in when I run to the grocery store for 2 seconds, or in general. So yeah, I would love if I could have just a forever piercing in, so when I buy some more other piercings, because I want some backups and replacements, because you're supposed to take them out, clean them, blah blah. Usually just clean them. I don't really change them. But anyways, forever earring in this one. But I want the right look, the right gauge, silver, because God, I don't like the blue on it. But oh, my hand hurts. I wonder if it's you guys. You guys broke my wrist. Even though it's definitely not broken. Yeah, I was looking it up and they're like, sprained wrist. And I was like, I don't think so. My fruit is still very frozen. Just ice. That's it. Just ice. All of it is just ice. I want to eat it though. I'm just listening to them talking. The problem is, I want to put, like, if I want to put a frozen piece in my mouth, it's just going to be cold and sad. It'll just be like too cold. Yeah. What else is going on? Oh, I read more of this one book that I got from an older woman that she wrote. It's her family story. It's The Secret Life of a Greek Girl, or The Life of The Life of a Greek Girl. I don't know. And I love it because I said it before. She talks like she talks, and she writes how she talks, and yep. So what happened was, I was reading it, and in the middle of a conversation, like I only read a little bit, a few pages, a handful of pages, which some chapters are bigger than others, so I read like a full chapter, which was 3 pages, plus some, and, it was like going off about Istanbul, which was once Constantinople, and she was going on about Constantinople. I think there's another syllable. Anyways, like the song, you know, Constantinople. Anyways, the point was, it's now Istanbul. And in the book, she will use a flip-floppy language between calling it Istanbul and Constantinople. Usually she does Constantinople, but usually she will try to keep it what it was called when the story took place. Anyways, the point was, she's like, oh yeah, and Constantinople is named after this guy or something, and then they became Christians, and now they're saints, and Constantinople, which was once... I have no idea, by the way, if this is true. I do not know the history of Constantinople enough. Where it's like, and, the what was I saying? Oh yeah, and then, you know, Constantinople used to be Greek until the Turks stole it or whatever, and now it's Istanbul, and the people that is named after the city that was named after this one guy and his wife are now saints in Christianity. And again, we're just talking about her mother. Like, this is just the story of her mother. Like, a little bit of talking about who she is as a human, and this is just a little paragraph in it. And it's I love it. I love it because you also translate every name. So she had, it was pretty obvious, the people she was talking about was named what we know as like Achilles, and Achilles in Greek is something else. She's like, it's not, you know, you guys know it as Achilles, but it is actually Greek accent, Greek way of pronouncing it that I can't. And so a lot of them, so she's like, and this person's name is God, I wish I remembered. Malama? I don't remember how it ends. Or one of the vowels. And she's like, it means gold, or Goldie. And then one of the other ones, like Friday. This one's like this. And so it will be translated. And so she will translate a lot of these words, which is great. And she will have it like the way her mom, the word that she grew up knowing it as, only later learned it was this actually, and so she will use it, and she'll explain, and I love it. It's literally just like sitting, but like she talks not fast, but for the amount of information she is just spitting out, it's a lot, and I love it. Oh man, it's great. And again, she will name drop what sewing machine her mom had. She will talk about the history of certain places, names, all that. She will you know, they're talking about in here in the video, they're saying that the, you know, grandchildren will be told this, and it's so funny because I don't know that, especially now talking about this lady's, you know, history from 110 years of history. Will Unus Annus live out in history? Not just within ourselves, but will I go on and tell future generations of it? I mean, they're correct. People will obviously talk about 2020, but will people talk about this YouTube channel? Probably not. At least not in the same way. Anyways, the point was, and she will talk about how her grandmother, question mark? Or somebody, I can't remember. There's so many people. And she went and talked about, like, oh, they were coming, like, sailing back from, you know, and she calls America the New World. So we're sailing back from the New World, and it was a really bad storm, and they would do this thing where they would close very like a dark colored velvet over the windows so you couldn't see the storm, despite the boat being very shaky, to act like it's all good, fam. And it's very interesting because I remember one time being in an airplane and they're like, okay, everyone, close it because of the storm. Just close the windows. And I'm like, we still do that, give it as not velvet. Anyways, the person looked behind the velvet, saw the storm, and apparently died of shock at 50, to be fair. Also, a lot of other things probably happened. And they're like, she lived through 2 wars and all this, blah, blah, but the storm was so scary, it killed her. I'm like, maybe, yes. However, maybe the other things added up too. Anyways, and then she's going on about her family and how she was born in a family of 11, have 11 births, and 2 died very young, so it was 9 people grown to adulthood. But she was going on about that and how nowadays society isn't meant to be the same, and she goes on about how she hates it, and I was scared she was going to go on about complaining about the younger. A lot of people blame me for not being able, not taking care of if I had living grandparents, but instead she doesn't blame the younger generation. She doesn't blame me. She blames society for not being able to provide anymore for that. Where she's like, there was no such thing as old folks' homes. There was none of that. Retirement homes, that didn't exist. We took care of them. But now, because you're taking so much paycheck for rent, you're taking so much this for this, so much blah blah, the food is this blah blah, you can't afford to take care of your parents anymore, and you can't afford to have as big of a family as we once had. And she grew up with, again, 9 kids growing up, 8 siblings, 9 kids growing up. You would need to have a lot of money to have 9 kids and provide for them the same way her single, for a lot of her years, a single mother took care of her and afforded to send the kids to America, 3 of the kids to America. I wouldn't even know how to start taking care of. I couldn't afford 1 kid. I can't afford a house. I can't afford 1 kid, let alone trying to have having 11 kids and then growing up to adulthood 9 kids. There's no way I could do that. There's no way. And so I'm really glad she didn't blame the younger generation, because I was like, is she gonna blame us for that? Because I was gonna have to be like, ooh, but no. She blamed society, and so good. I should never have doubted her. Never should have doubted her. Anyways, love of the book. I am not very far in. I actually forgot about it. It is full of allergies because, no offense, she lived on a farm, and I'm very allergic to farms, and that, no offense meant for me. I'm weak. My body's weak. She's perfect. I love her. She's great. Minimal problem.